So this is a very special video where I want to talk to you about West Virginia history and dispel some myths about Appalachian mountaineers and use my own family lineage as well as my DNA results to show you that these myths about mountaineers are not true. And also have some results from a adopted mountaineer that I want to show you as well. Can you guess who the adopted mountaineer is? Yes, that's Ace. I have his DNA results as well. So that's the bonus, is adopted mountaineer. Okay, but this is about West Virginia too. This is one of the best documentaries I have seen on West Virginia. And so it is a 2 DVD series, and you can get it at the westvirginiahumanities.org. I picked this one up at the Tamarack, which has some great gifts and stuff. But this is where you can get this. And this costs all of $29.95. Okay, so go and get it. And it talks all about West Virginia history, straight from, of course, our most native mountaineers to the current day. Okay, so you gotta do it. All right, so one of the things that is said when you travel, you'll hear people make jokes about West Virginians, right? And usually what happens, you walk up to a group, right? And they'll say, oh, where are you from? Where are you from? And they all say where they're from. And then they'll look at you and say, oh, where are you from? Once you have to take a deep breath, because you know you're about ready to hear between 4 to 5 jokes about West Virginia, right? Then when they're all done laughing and telling their jokes, right, I just say, you know, it's hard being from a place with such world-class whitewater rapids and world-class ATV trails, but the mountaineers, we just do the best we can. What can I say? That's it, West Virginia. What are you gonna do? Almost heaven. You gotta live there, right? That's what mountaineers would say, right? Okay, so and another thing that is quite disgusting, that is actually said behind closed doors, right? Because nobody wants to say it out in public, but I have heard it said, it's been said to me, right? That, man, those people from the Appalachian Mountains, they are destined for to be doomed, right? Because why? Because they say that we have a shallow gene pool, and then our uneducated parents choose one another, and then what do we got? We got bad nature and nurture too, and we're just doomed, right? And so you hear this not only of West Virginians, but sometimes of Southerners, right? And so they think that because, of course, in all these surveys, we come out the fattest states and the most uneducated and the most impoverished. But of course, tends to be a lot of poverty. But I really want to show you that this whole thing with the shallow gene pool just is really nothing more than a lie. It is a myth and it is a lie, and I want to prove it to you. It's true for many reasons, right? The natives who were first in the mountains, and some still are, right, are native mountaineers, and also for the early immigrants who came into the area, right, from the 1700s. And then later on, as we're moving into the early 1900s, right, is that the railroading system as well as the coal industry brought in people from everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean they got people straight from the piers to come into the Appalachian Mountains. So one of the best, and you can see this one right now for free, just go on just put in your Google search, right? The Mine Wars American Experience PBS. And they have some West Virginians talking about how their own parents were recruited, Italian parents, you know. They have African Americans talking about how their ancestors were recruited from the sharecropping fields in the South to say, come on, got a different way of life for you than this, you know. And so it shows how so much diversity came into the area, also because of industry, right? So who weren't some of the natives, and then the native Appalachian people that came in. There was also then all of the industries that brought people in. How many people? Well, just to let you know, with railroading, right, that back in the 1880, the rail lines were around 700, right? And then by 1920, it was the mileage of railroad lines had gone up to 4,000. So that took a massive amount of work. And look at these mountains. You know, do you think they needed some workers to put rail lines through these mountains, right? The steep grades and stuff. Absolutely. So they recruited a lot of people. And so you know there's some tough people coming in to do this work, right, in the railroading and the coal industry. So some real tough forefathers that we have there. My own parents were both coal miners. My mom and my stepdad were both coal miners. My dad was actually worked at row furniture factory, so he's a factory worker. Okay, so let's start this talking about my own ancestry with my great grandfather, right, who was in World War One. So he was a World War One war fighter. And so it runs in the family. I got a retired master sergeant for an uncle, right? So we got all these war fighters, right, in our family. All right, so this is actually, and so one of the things they did back then is before they're going to distribute any entitlement that you get in the military, they're going to verify your military service, you know. So it's not enough to say, oh, I served, right, in that way. So this you can see is from the War Department here. Right? And so I don't know if the Army still does this, but back then the Army would like put everything in red pencil if you got it wrong. And I guess if you got it right, they give you little check marks, right? And so by the time my great grandmother, had filled this out, my great grandfather had passed away. So his name is John Alonzo Napoleon Chesley, is his name, right? And so he actually was a private in the infantry, as you can see, and World War veteran. And that's my ace guard dog. He's telling me somebody's out there. Okay. All right. So where is he buried? He's buried in Webster Springs, West Virginia, right with my grandmother. And so she put that he fought out of the 1st Division in West Virginia. And so the Army is like, no, you're wrong. Rosa May is her name, because I don't know what it is about two first names. That's a different subject. Okay, so but he was out of the 32nd Division in Illinois. And so my great grandfather, excuse me, was actually born in Paris. And you're like, what? Your great grandfather was born in Paris? No, not Paris, France. He was born in Paris, Illinois. How do I know? It says so right here on my grandmother's birth certificate, right? My name is Anita Marie, and her name's Marie. And so anyway, he was born in Paris, Illinois. And where was my grandmother born? She was born in Webster Springs, West Virginia, right? West Virginia. Okay, Rosemary, Bouillon. So many sides to see, and I just followed the ones that I could go back furthest to. Just to let you know, as a side note, I'm a little ashamed of my own self, right? Because I didn't search through my ancestry for a long time because I was afraid of what I might find, right? Because, wow, I got some really, it was spirited, I guess. So I'm just trying to get away of saying not mean. They're mean. I got some mean to mean relatives. I'm like, oh my gosh, who am I kin to? I didn't even want to know, right? But now I'm just ashamed because I was kin to some pretty terrific people, and I saw that they used their spiritedness for the good, right, to fight for our own freedom. So now I'm so proud, but I never knew that my own great-grandfather was in a World War I veteran and was a private in the infantry. So there you go. So, but the point of saying all that is that don't be stubborn like me, and don't be afraid, right? Don't follow my example, right? Just do it, because one of the things that happened, like, I don't have much time. I have hardly little time at all, really. But what happened was extraordinarily, I actually it was able to link to a tree to someone who had already done so much research on my own family. And so once somebody's linked to either your grandparent or your great-grandparent, then you can follow that lineage. And so some of the homework may have already been done for you. All you got to do is just log on to Ancestry.com and pay their bill, right? You could be accessing, that's where this document came from, right? I never even knew, like, I'm so embarrassed, right? I never even knew my own great-grandfather was a World War I veteran until recently, until I like stopped being so fearful and started searching through my own ancestry, right? And so not only fighting with one division, no, he fought with two. How about that? Wow, and not extraordinary, right? You know, there's probably something going on there, like why? All these questions, right? Okay, so John Alonzo Napoleon Chesley, they had to verify the military service before they're going to give any distribution of benefits. And so he was, and that's where they're both buried today, is Webster Springs, West Virginia, right? And the Adam Miller Cemetery. And finding that is a different subject. Wow. Talk about rural and four-wheeling. I went up there. I went to Webster Springs. That's pretty serious. It's a beautiful mountaintop. And anyway, so I four-wheeled all over the mountain and put the Jeep on the side of the mountain and looked, and I had a hard time finding it. So I decided that my great-grandparents did not want to be visited. It was fun four-wheeling though. So anyway, okay, so this is a 1910 census from West Virginia. No, why am I showing you this, right? Okay, this is from Indiana. This is my great-grandfather again, John Napoleon, right? It says he was a boarder, so he wasn't even like a part of a household here in 1910. That's interesting too, right? So he's a laborer where? In the coal mines in Indiana? No, it says glass factory. He was in a glass factory, right? And so when I was growing up in West Virginia, in McDowell County, my stepfather was a coal miner, and if I ever stood in front of the TV, he would say, "You need to move because what were you? Born in a glass factory?" And I could have said, well, no, I wasn't born in one, but my great-grandfather worked in one. But I can't tell him because Edward Mitchell passed away, so I can't tell him. But anyway, so that's how I found out what my great-grandfather did. He worked in a glass factory. Okay, so that was John Alonzo Napoleon Chesley, my great-grandfather. This is my great-grandmother. Now, this is 1910 census, too. I don't know if you can see it, this camera. But it says Webster is for the county, right? So this is, of course, West Virginia, right? And so my great-grandmother is in yellow, Rosa May Bouillon, right? And her father and my great-grandfather and great-great-grandmother, right? William Bouillon and Marcina Dilly. So that is my great-great-grandparents. Okay, so to kind of share with you my lineage from West Virginia. So my family, my ancestry goes back to from before there was a West Virginia, right? And so what we have here is, and actually I think I'll show the map of West Virginia if I can find it to show you where they came in from and how this happened. Okay, so here is the map of West Virginia. Okay, and so in the middle of the state is Braxton County, right? If you can see Braxton County. And so it is actually the geographical center of the whole state. How interesting is that, right? And so my family, my ancestry goes back to really the heart of West Virginia is where they settled. It was right around the heart. And so Nicholas County, Webster County, and Braxton County. Okay. And so if you look through my lineage, right? Rosa May Bouillon, right? And then there was Marcilla Dilly, right? And she was Nicholas County when there was West Virginia, right? But then her father, Alfred Dilly, right, was born in Nicholas County where? Yes, you're catching on. See? Why? Because it was still Virginia back then, right? Because he was born in 1839, and it was still Virginia. Maybe you know, maybe you don't. West Virginia is the only state in all of the United States that was born out of another state, right? And West Virginia is named after Queen Elizabeth. Did you know that? And you say, well, how is that? Virginia doesn't sound anything like Elizabeth. How did that happen, right? Because she was the Virgin Queen. And Virginia was named after the Virgin Virginia. See? How about that? Did you see this? Okay. History. You're like, man, you like history, huh? I sure do. Guilty. Okay, so Rachel Murphy, right? Where's she born? She was born in 1812. So, yes, that makes her a Virginian. You're like, what? She was a Virginian? Born in Nicholas County. Boy, the people in Nicholas County are going to be like, yeah, sure enough. Yeah, she's a Virginian. Okay, and then William Murphy. All right, that is her father. And then his father is Patrick Murphy. And where was Patrick Murphy born? Oh my gosh, Patrick Murphy was born in Ireland, right? And so where's Patrick Murphy today? Is Patrick Murphy in Ireland? No, he is not in Ireland, right? So Patrick Murphy is actually in Braxton. This is his tombstone, right? Is Patrick Murphy. And he is in Braxton County. So something very interesting about him is that he fought in the American Revolutionary War. How about that? How interesting, right? So again, from these forefathers that came into the area, people might know this, might not know this about but some of the American Revolutionary War fighters came in to claim their land bounties that they received as a disbursement entitlement for their service in the American Revolutionary War. And where did they come? They came in from the West Virginia. So you might have some war fighters around here at lineage, right? Some more Appalachian Mountaineers. You need to get to work and start checking your own lineage, you know? You never know. I have some other Revolutionary War fighters in there too. Okay, and so what is this? This is, again, it's a verification of military service. You see how they did that back then? Okay, so this says, court is held here at Bedford County on this day, November of 1828, and John Murphy has proven that Patrick Murphy was a soldier in the 6th Regiment of Virginia in the Continental Army, and the official testimony herein and my official seal, and the signature. And so with that, he received the disbursement of land, which I'm thinking was in Braxton County, since that is where my American Revolutionary War fighting family member is buried. So I'm thinking his land was in Braxton County, but I don't know that for sure, right? I just think that because that's where he is today. So that is it. So you see how things have changed and stayed the same. So back then, they made you verify service before they distributed your military benefits. And so with my great-grandfather, and they do the same thing today. And so when they distribute them today, that's really good. But back then, they distributed them too. So, but they still do the verifications on today. Kind of interesting. I don't know. I feel like a connection, right? Like you see these differences. So show some things that throughout my ancestry that stayed kind of the same, right? That we are war fighters, and we use the entitlements that that America gives us in thanks and gratitude for our service. Look at that, private in the infantry. And from the records that I have found, I don't have them all here, right? There's so many, but there's several of the records that he too was a private in the infantry. And my uncle is also started in the Army as a private. So I come from a long line of Army soldiers. And you're like, what happened here, man? Right? So, but I'm enamored with Audie Murphy, as you probably may know. I don't know. Okay. And so where my ancestors' oral tradition was Webster Springs, and so yes, my great-grandparents of Webster Springs, but their parents were Nicholas, and shows some lineage to Braxton. So they stay right around here in the heart of West Virginia. How about that? I had not visited Webster County until I'd been to Nicholas County, right? Because I go whitewater rafting and go to Summersville Lake. So I've been to Nicholas County many times, right? And Fayetteville, right? There's all this great vacation stuff. We go there all several summers, right? But I hadn't been to Webster Springs until I just went through this nostalgic search of mine. Okay, but I grew up in McDowell County, and my family is in Mercer County, right? And Webster actually reminded me somewhat of McDowell in the sense that, of course, Appalachian Mountains, but it's a little bit off of the main roads. This way, you got to go a little ways away, and so it's the same with McDowell County too. Okay, so all right, the big reveal. You went through my whole lineage there just to find out. Okay, here's my DNA results. I'm telling you right now, it is very diverse. And you're like, okay, enough talk. Let's see. All right. Here it is, and I hid one because I want to make it a surprise, right? And all of them are a surprise to me, right? But okay, here they are. There I am. Okay, so according to my ethnicity, I am 30% British. Oh my gosh, who knew? You know? So Southerners, it's really hot in the South and humid. So we drink a lot of tea, right? But we drink what? Iced tea. That's right. We do refills too, like big glasses of iced tea because it's really hot. But who knows? Maybe that's why, because we have some British in us too, right? But they don't drink a lot of iced tea, right? It's hot tea, right? Obviously. Okay. Europe West. And then what? Irish, 17% Irish. We're like, well, we know you're Irish. We saw that, right? Oh my gosh, what is this? 10% Scandinavia? Oh my gosh, right? Iberian Peninsula, 9%. Okay. Finland, Northwest Russia, 2%. Europe East, Europe South, and European Jew, right? Less than 1%. 2%. And then there's this mystery 2%, right? So overall, I am 98% European and 2% question mark, which I'm saving, right? Is it Asian? Is it Australian? What is that 2%? I don't know, right? I'm gonna save that. Okay, you gotta keep watching if you're interested. Okay. All right, so this is a little description, and it's probably helpful for the question mark countries, right? So, of course, the 30% Great Britain, and then the 25%, right? Well, here's the frustrating thing, right? Is with my DNA, right? They got it's not really narrowed down this 25% of me, right? There's like 7 whole countries, right? And so I'm like, well, how French am I, or how Dutch, Liechtenstein, right? Luxembourg, Germany, how German am I? Oh my gosh, I don't even know, right? So this, I wish this was broke down a little more, just to be honest with you, right? It is what it is, right? So it says, from the Amsterdam sea level metropolis to the majestic peaks of the Alps, to the beer-soaked gardens of Munich and the sun-soaked vineyards of Bordeaux. Okay, so of course I've been to France because I lived in France teaching English, and so I have a lot of French friends also. But and then, you know, it's Napoleon, Chelsea, I don't know, maybe 2 last names. I got a lot of more research to do, don't I? Yes, I do, and not as much time as I wish I had. Okay, here I am. Irish. All right. And so they talk a lot about how the Irish has kept to their very Celtic roots, and even with their language and their Celtic culture. And I think that's interesting because I lived in Britannia, and they have very Celtic roots in Britannia, France. And so people might not know that, right? So they have bagpipe music, fest-noz, they do all these they have very Celtic background too, so that's pretty interesting. And it rains a lot in Britannia. It's very beautiful. Oh my gosh, can't even. talk about it. So pretty. Okay, so here I am, 10%. What is this? Sweden, Norway, Denmark. Okay. Scandinavians have historically been renowned seafarers, and their adventures brought them into contact with much of the rest of Europe. Okay. So I thought this was interesting because I don't know that it's related at all, but I have a love for harbor towns. You know, I have been drawn to them. And interestingly enough, when I did live in France, I was in Paimpol, which is a harbor town, right? And literally Little Paimpol is all situated around a harbor. And then of course, I love Norfolk, Virginia as well, and it is a harbor town, right, with the world's largest Navy base, right? And so I'm like, is that 10%? These seafarers, where I just love the water, right? I don't know, maybe, you know. Anyway, so to this day, still love harbor towns. I think they're so pretty. All right, so Europe East again. What do I got? Like 17 countries. Not very split out, like, so I don't even know, right? But I got some friends in Austria, and they're really awesome. So that's pretty cool to think maybe I'm a little Austrian, right? I don't know. Not too much though. It's only 2%, right? Who knows? Okay. Europe South encompasses Italy and Greece. I have been to both, and oh my gosh, how breathtaking, right? Loved Florence. One of the most beautiful places. So many beautiful places, right? Florence was so breathtaking, right? You can see where so many great artists in these amazingly beautiful European places. You can say, well, if you're one thing, they got that right. You're European. 98% European. And then this less than 1% European Jew as well. Okay. Am I done with my diversity? No, I'm not. Oh my gosh. Okay. No shallow gene pool. You convinced? You're like, yes, heaven's sake. No, I'm still not convinced. Okay, well then, hang on. Did you see it? You saw it, didn't you? Can't hide it. All right. Iberian Peninsula, 9%, right? Is Spain and Portugal, right? So primarily located, so larger than that, but 9%. Okay, more European. Okay, so I gotta let the big reveal, right? So what is this 2%? All right, ta-da! 2% Middle Eastern. How about that, right? And so you're like, wow. Maybe between that and some of these other ingredients, you tan really well, right? Middle Eastern, right? How cool is that? So you think about like all the people I might be kin to. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just like overwhelming, right? Could be kin to St. Paul, because I did get to go to Tars, where he was from, right? How cool would that be, right? Or even Boudica, you know, how cool would that be, right? Might be actually descendant of Boudica. Oh my gosh, that would be so awesome. All right, so my video is getting dark, so I'm gonna add a little more light, so just be patient for a second. Okay, is that more helpful? I think so. Holy cow, it's getting darker. Okay, and so 2% Middle Eastern. There it is. How about that, right? And so that shows all the countries there. And then the other 2% of primarily located in Finland and Northwest Russia, right? It says Finland is often rated among the world's best in education, economy, and quality of life. So that's pretty cool. It's like maybe America should figure out what they're doing, because we're having some issues in our own country. So anyway, this is really interesting. So what does this look like? All right, so here is what this looks like. Okay, so here's a picture. And like people say, oh, I'm going to draw a picture for you. Okay, well, let's just draw a picture for us. Okay, so this shows, so the diversity, right? So they got the countries circled where all my ancestors are from, right? And different colors, right? And so these are all my like ancestors. My ancestors here too. So my ancestors take up all this land. So all my kinfolk are right here, right? Hey, and then it shows how my ancestors came from there and over to here, right? So that's a little dot. You know what that dot is? That's it. It's in West Virginia. How interesting is that, right? The DNA story for an 88. So that's my DNA story. Okay. So now, what does it say about the Appalachians? The Central Appalachian settlers. Okay. You probably have relatives who are part of the migration in the past few hundred years. Your connection in this migration is likely through your ancestry from Europe West, Great Britain, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Pretty interesting, huh? The specific places in this region where your family might have lived. In the Virginia Blue Ridge Highland settlers or the Southern West Virginia settlers. Okay, so how interesting is that? And it says here in the 1700s to 1750, right? The Central Appalachian settlers. According to this, that by the middle of the 18th century, England had banished more than 50,000 of its countrymen to America as a punishment from everything to petty thievery to highway robbery. Most convicts were shipped to Virginia and Maryland, right? And others had sold themselves into indentured service to pay for their overseas passage. So, how about that? So, who knows how your ancestors got here? You know, but either way, they had to make a lot of sacrifices, right? Because those boats were very uncomfortable, and some people died on those boats. And so, very interesting. So this also tells more about history of West Virginia. I'm not going to go through all of that, right? The coal country and Central Appalachian and the unforgiving Appalachia. So, anyway, so this is my family. And so I am definitely a mountaineer, right? Because I am a mountaineer. Okay, so that's my story. All right, so, and I know this is a long video, but I promised you, right, I would talk to you about an adopted mountaineer too. Okay, and I have his DNA. Yes, I do. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's start with his story, and then I'll show you his DNA. All right. So this is Ace's story. Maybe you think it's interesting. Okay, so this is how I found Ace. Okay, Ace is a rescue. All right, so I was online. I was like, I've always wanted a dog, but I don't have the lifestyle because I move around like 100,000 times, I think. And so I was like, well, I really still want a dog, and I gotta do this. So this is what I saw online, right? It was this ad that you're looking at right here, and it said, rescue me. Look at his little face, rescue me. Like, okay, and if you're looking for your own rescue, you can go to rescueme.org, right? Find your own. And that's his name, Ace. Okay, so what's it say? It says that he's good with most dogs. He's, this boy has beautiful blue eyes. Okay, so that's why I was attracted, because look at those blue eyes. He's like, come get me. You look so sad, right? So I was like, I want to get him. And 50% of people said, oh, you're in the military, better not. And the other 50% who had dogs and are in the military said, you go for it, do it. So undecided, but obviously you know how that turned out. Okay, so I go to the shelter in Manning, and they are absolutely fantastic. The people there are amazing. Amazing, amazing. They love on their animals. And it's sad. If you've ever been to a shelter, you know it's sad, right? Because you walk down these lanes and you can see this little dog back here. He's like, take me home, take me home. And they all line up and they all like begging you to take them home because they all want to go home with you. But they kept it clean. So the place so clean. You see the cages are just really clean and the dogs look really happy. As happy as you can be, right, in a shelter, right? So, we took in my rescue. Okay. So then I walk up, and here he is. He like, he stick his tongue out at me, right? I should have known then he was going to be mischievous, and he is. I wanted a dog that was energetic, and he's energetic and mischievous, which is quite a combination. I will tell you that. He keeps me on my toes, no doubt. All right, so there he is. You see, he's sticking his tongue out at you. See, whatever. Okay, so then I go up to the cage, and here's what it says. It says Ace and his date of birth, right? So he's born in May 2015, and he's an Australian Shepherd mix, right? And so the history I had was that his owner brought him back because he didn't have time for him. He was really sad, but he knew he needed to give him to a better home. And he doesn't have to be sad. He's watching this because the guy came to my home. And he keeps me like absolutely busy, which is good because I want an energetic dog, and he loves to run, and he's very energetic. Okay, there he is. Oh my gosh, look at that. See those blue eyes? There he is. Okay. What would you do if that was your dog? If that was your adoptee to be, right? You're gonna be like, you're gonna take that dog home? I was like, oh, what am I gonna do? Look at him. He's like, take me home, take me home. What would you do? You're like, I don't know. Okay, what'd you do? Okay, you already know, right? So I filled out a puppy dog application, adoption application, right? And so these people are serious about who gets their dogs, right? So they actually called where I lived to make sure I could have the dog there, and then they were going to call the veterinarian, but I didn't have an animal, so they have a veterinarian to call. Okay. So they reviewed, and they made the phone calls, and they checked my references, and what did they decide? And you're like, I already know. Okay. Good afternoon, Miss Yates. This is regarding your adoption application on Ace, okay? We want to let you know that your application is approved. Congratulations. And that was it. And she's the adoption coordinator at a Second Chance Animal Shelter. There you go. And that is Ace's story, right? So he'd been with someone for a year. They brought him back because they realized they just didn't have the time. And so then I got him 1 year old. The place said, oh, he's potty trained. We think. We're not sure, right? And so then I brought him home, and I had to house train him. He was not house trained. So he really kept me on my toes. And so we got through that together. Okay, so Ace. What is Ace's DNA profile? Okay, so here is Ace and his DNA profile. So you know mine? Now you're gonna know his. How about that? Okay, so his doesn't go as far back as mine, right? But his goes back to his great grandparents. Okay, so this is my hand right there. First. Okay, so this is Ace. This is his parents. These interesting mutts here, right? And these are his grandparents, right? And these are his great-grandparents, right? So Ace doesn't know it, right? He still won't know it. But he has, it says it's U.S. Field Labrador Retrievers right here. How about that? And it's a show Chow Chow, right? How about that? And also a show Rottweiler. Never would have guessed that, would you? Did you see him? Never would have guessed that, would you? And these mixed breeds, right? And American Bulldogs. Okay, so then it comes up, and you have more mixed breeds. That's the shaded one, right? And you're like, well, you got some mixed breeds too, right? There's 17 countries, right? So that's kind of like his. It's the mix all together. Okay, and the Labrador Retriever, and the Chow Chow, and the American Stafford Terrier. How about that? And then up here, and you can see that. And then this, and then here is Ace right there. It also gives me a breakdown in percentages. So just like mine has percentages, right? His has percentages too. And I'll talk to you about what I think his are, right? But it talks about his mixed breed, right? And it seems that he has predominant features in his mixed breed. So his breakdown for mixed breed came down to 25%, but his predominant features are in these mixed breeds. So, just like everyone has said, and you saw it on the application, right? Australian cattle dog. So I've had enough red healers come up and talk to me about Ace to know that he has so many predominant features of a red healer, even the white mark on his head, right? And then his daycare provider, yes, he is a daycare provider because he's so energetic. He can't sit around at all. He has go, 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 go. So he's in daycare, doggy daycare. So, but they love him there. All right, she guessed husky, and sure enough, right? Siberian husky. So that's those almond blue eyes right there. And so, and then Chow Chow, right? So you saw the Chow Chow already. There that is. I think that makes it more interesting too with the red heeler is probably helping with his cinnamon color, right? Red heelers are very beautiful and cinnamon, and Chow Chows are really bright. You know, they're like bright orange. So that's where all that orange comes from, right? And it's interesting to know more about these different breeds because I see certain things in him that these breeds have, right? He's really loves being with other dogs. Is definitely that pack mentality that they talk about with a Siberian Husky, right? These dogs were made famous for traveling up to 600 miles with like vaccinations that saved people's lives, right? So that's when they became famous, and because they're sled dogs, right? They can go miles and miles and miles. And so I have to keep Ace very active or he just gets like a little stir crazy. So keep him active and go play fetch with him, and we go jogging together. And so that makes sense, right? These jogging sled dogs and stuff. All right. Herders, Australian cattle dogs. Okay. So again, like with the bright Chow Chows, right? We talked about the bright colors. Oh my gosh. But you can see Ace is a little bit taller than Chow Chow. And that's all these other mixed breeds that are in him. My adopted Mountaineer. He likes the West Virginia mountains. He's a South Carolina dog from Manning. But he does like the West Virginia. Okay, so here is a Labrador Retriever, right? And so it says here, Labrador Retrievers were initially trained to retrieve fishing nets from cold waters in the North Atlantic. Fishermen brought them to England in the 19th century, where they were lauded for their swimming, retrieving, and hunting skills. Right? Labrador Retrievers enjoy dog sports, agility, hunting, tracking, and swimming. I'm going to skip through all the rest. Okay, so Ace is crazy about swimming, and you can see where it comes from, right? So now you know, like, okay, well that's that's a strong Labrador in him right there. That's his mom's side. Is why he loves all that swimming, right? He's got webbed feet like a Labrador, and he will swim, swim, swim. He's not afraid of the water either. Like I can put the ball. I have a floating ball for him, and I can throw it way far out, right? It doesn't matter. He'll go and go and go. He's like absolutely fearless. And when we went camping once on the lake, which so beautiful, the people liked watching him because he would like bite at the water and then he'd snap at it, just kind of like playing in the water. He's like a fish. And anybody who's had Labradors, they know how Labradors are just so absolutely crazy about water. And that's Ace, right? So you had a red heeler and was a little husky, and also he likes swimming. So that's pretty fascinating, right? All right, so then there's all these other breeds too that come into it, right? So the bulldog, American bulldog, right? And so what does it say? It says strong, alert, self-confident, physically active, right? Hyperactivity and difficulty if you don't keep them busy, right? You gotta keep them busy. So energetic and mischievous, I gotta keep them busy, right? So American Stafford Terrier, see them there, right? And here's the big thing about Ace. I'm surprised he's been quiet this long, right? You haven't heard him, because they were bred. A lot of these dogs on his father's side, the American Stafford Terrier, the Bulldog, the Rottweiler, they are just meant for guarding people and property. And really, to talk about who Ace is as a dog, right? I will tell you that he is, yes, playful. This is his actual genetic signature right there. How about that? But he also is a guard dog. He really is comfortable as a little defender, right? He's like, a car, 3 o'clock. And he turns around. He's like, okay, he's watching closely. He will go to the side of the campground. He'll go to the side of the property. He'll go to the side of wherever I am, and he'll watch back and forth, right? He goes, stand up, go over to the corner. He's looking back and forth, right? There is no one ever that can sneak up on the property without me knowing. I know who's coming in, who's going, because he's keeping me alert. And that's this side right here, right? You can see his swimming, his mixed breed, everything. So here's the percentages. I don't even know if you can see that, right? But basically they're like all 12%, right? All these other ones. And then this one is the Labrador Retriever, and then this one is the mixed breed, which is his predominant. So basically a lot of information. I know it's a long video, right? But so you can see that both Ace and myself, right? We are both very genetically diverse, right? And so how exciting is that, right? Just to think, you know, that we're so diverse. And so I'm gonna recommend that that you go and check out your own ancestry, right? Check out your own. Here's Ace's lineage back to his grandparents, right? Mine back hundreds and hundreds of years, right? And so, you know, one of the things that was very rudely said to me one time is that people from West Virginia are backwards, right? And I think that really we all kind of need to go backwards in a way, right? We all need to kind of look back, because we're kind of losing touch with our identity and who we are and the things we have to be very proud of, right? All of us, and all of us have a lot to be proud of, right? And you can see that there. I got my great-grandfather and my American Revolutionary grandfather, this war-fighting grandfather, right? And all my other ancestors, right? So just don't hesitate, right? Get to know more about where you're from and how your family got here, and go explore those branches and get kind of connected with all the struggles that your own family had to get to the level of freedom that you have today, right? So we can start getting back to really appreciating who we are, right? And for Mountaineers, I really have to challenge you, right? That you know, the state flag here, I have it, it's Monte Semper Libre, right? The Mountaineers are always free, right? And if you don't know your own ancestry, then, you know, you're not gonna, you're gonna believe these jokes, these terrible, horrid jokes, if you don't know your own ancestry. And so, but so this is the Great Seal of West Virginia, right? So we'll talk about West Virginians. And Monte Semper Libre, which means Mountaineers are always free. And the center of the seal, right, is our date into the Union, which is June 20th, 1863. Of course, the Audie Murphy fan, I had to put that was his birthday, June 20th. Not the same year, obviously. And that on the state flag of West Virginia, you're going to find, right? You're going to find a miner with a pick, which represents the industry, right? And a farmer, which represents an axe, and which is culture, agriculture. And then you see the crossed rifles, which indicate freedom and liberty, which were won and will be maintained by the force of arms. Okay, so that's these rifles right here, right? That Mountaineers are always free, right? Mountaineers are always free, right? And so we hope that really the human brain will evolve to the point where we don't have to always use so many guns, right? We don't have to use always so many force, right? We can live in some peace with our own liberty, right? In our country, and hopefully other countries too, right? Everybody go back and start to appreciate and help one another, right? And we can keep these where they're at, right? They're not holding them, right? They're holding their They're work tools, right? They're working. So it means they'll all be working instead of fighting. How about that? Anyway, you're like, you're a dreamer. I am. I'm from West Virginia. Okay. So I appreciate your time, and I'm so happy to be a Mountaineer. And so thank you so much for watching.